Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, Christia, we are in our 11th annual meeting of Yalta European Strategy. I am very honored that as a chairman of the board of this organization, I can welcome you again this year in Kiev. I remember our last meeting in Yalta, and I remember all our hopes, all our ideas in quite complicated situation, because what is typical for our meetings, what is typical for years, and especially what is typical for Ukraine, that every year we have some problems, we have some tensions, we have some question marks. But I think when I said in my conclusions in Yalta 1 year ago that we expect that next meeting we will celebrate together that Ukraine will sign association agreement with the European Union and Yulia Tymoshenko will be released, it was quite optimistic forecast for the future. Nobody, and I can say on my behalf, personally, I didn't imagine that the situation can be so dramatic, so tragic, that we will move our meeting from Yalta, from beautiful Livadia Palace, to Kiev. I think everything what happened was dramatic surprise for all of us. Today we open our annual meeting having in our memory thousands of victims, young, innocent Ukrainians and also Russians who paid the highest price of own life for this unacceptable politics which we can observe from the side of Russian Federation. This year we will have time to discuss what to do in these very special conditions and circumstances. The topic of our conference, which we decided about that some months ago, is New Ukraine, New Europe, New World, Building and Defending. This is a real, very wide and very interesting framework for our 2 days or 2.5 days debates. I welcome our distinguished guests. We'll have, as usual, very fascinating list of speakers. I welcome participants of the conference. I welcome you in this very special place. Frankly speaking, our conference never had a lot of space before. Now we have possibilities for discussion, for panels, for more private meetings. And I'm very glad that again, thanks Viktor Pinchuk and his foundation, we can organize this exchange of thoughts, this exchange of experience here in Kiev. What to do? How to solve this situation? How to protect the peace? How to support European ambitions of Ukraine? How to create good conditions for dialogue and cooperation between Europe and Russia, and especially Ukraine and Russia. We have a lot of questions. We have a lot of problems which we should discuss next days. What we can show also, that is not only our contribution to this political and intellectual debate about the future of Europe, Ukraine and the world. I think it's time, and your presence here, even on the beginning of our conference, so numerous presence, is a signal and symbol about something what Ukraine needs very much. That is our solidarity and understanding. Understanding and solidarity. And I'm very grateful for all of you that you decided to be here and show this solidarity, this understanding, and your strong voice. We need peace. We need dialogue. We are against violence and war. So, dear friends, welcome again on the 11th annual meeting of Yalta European Strategy. And now I am very honored to invite to this tribune the man who in the last years was extremely involved, extremely engaged to prepare and to implement the best concept of effective, full of mutual understanding and respect relationships between Ukraine and European Union. He was working very much on an association agreement between European Union and Ukraine. He spent many, many days, weeks and months here discussing and speaking about all the problems. He was very open for all kinds of cooperation, forms of cooperation with Russian Federation. And I think that is a time not only to welcome this very famous politician and European leader here in Kiev, but to applaud him for everything what he has done, for all his efforts. I'm honored to invite Commissioner of the European Union, Štefan Füle, to this stage. And again, Štefan, thank you for everything what you have done.
Dear President Aleksander Kwaśniewski, dear Victor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is my fifth time to attend the annual meeting of the Yalta European Strategy. But regrettably, following the illegal annexation of Crimea by Russia, we are not in Yalta. Allow me to stress very clearly here and now, we have not forgotten about Crimea. It will always remain on the radar of our policy until international law is fully restored. As I was reflecting on the topic of this evening's discussion, I recalled my visits to the Maidan, and my thoughts immediately turned to the brave people that I met as I walked among the tents in freezing temperature of -20 degrees Celsius, people showing huge discipline and solidarity. I recall sipping hot tea with them and warming our hands over a fire in a barrel. I recall walking on Maidan in the peace of the night, the air filled not only with the biting smoke from the makeshift stoves, but also filled with the determination of the people not to let go the chance of a better future. My thoughts also turned to the people injured in the clashes that I met in the hospitals, the people beaten for expressing their views, and also policemen injured in an action ordered by their failed superiors. Dear friends, if you ask me what Maidan means, I would say it was first of all about dignity. Lack of accountability, an accumulation of wealth in the hands of a few at the expense of the prosperity of the whole country made people to show massive support for reform and modernization. They demonstrated for a better future for their own country, a future free of corruption and where rule of law and human rights are respected. For many, this corresponded with a future based on European values, which as Europeans themselves, they share. Maidan happened at a time when in the European Union there are some who express skepticism about the European integration process, tending to take its benefits, peace, democratic accountability, respect for human rights, for granted. Maidan reminded us all that the value of democracy can never be underestimated. You have to take care of it. And sometimes you have to take strong stance and defend it. The wish of Ukraine to develop closer ties with the European Union was a sovereign choice. Yet instead of respecting this choice and accepting that it was not at the expense of Russia, Moscow opted for confrontation, creating the most serious crisis in Europe since the end of World War II. We have been witnessing economic coercion, threats, and open military aggression meant to dissuade the Ukrainian people from taking up new opportunities, but also meant to dissuade us from defending their freedom of choice, to convince us to drop our policies, values, and principles, and accept the logic of the spheres of influence. But this would equal to ignoring the lessons of the last century on this continent. The logic of a zero-sum game is outdated and has no place in today's world. We have to find ways to explain to Russia that respect can be regained if we work jointly on a vision of cooperation on the European continent without dividing lines. Is it possible? Is it realistic? I think yes. I bet it is, realistic and possible. Our European house is broken, and the time has come to fix it. Not at the expense of anyone, but with the involvement of all. Dear friends, let me also to use this opportunity to send a strong message of support to the people in eastern Ukraine who have suffered so much during the conflict. No matter where you are, be it in Kharkov, Mariupol, or Donetsk, our thoughts are with you and all those defending the integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine. I also strongly encourage the Ukrainian authorities not to lose contact with the people of eastern Ukraine, many of whom are fearful and anxious to know what is happening. In some cases, friends and families are split because they feel under pressure to choose between two sides in the conflict. They need your understanding of their suffering and reassurance that there is no need to make such a choice, because Maidan has never been about dividing the country, but about uniting people in their aspiration for a better life. They also deserve capable and accountable self-government to efficiently manage the economic and social development of their regions and cities. Dear friends, Maidan has created a chance for a better life. Ukrainians will be able to use all its potential only if its spirit of dignity, unity, and accountability accompany your action throughout the whole country. We in the European Union do not run revolutions. We have neither the intention nor the capacity. But we have strong political will and powerful instruments to help people to deliver on their expectations and make sure that the ideals of revolutions are not stolen. Regardless of how many difficulties lie ahead of us, I'm sure that the values of Maidan has fought for will prevail, and Maidan itself will be remembered as one of Europe's defining moments. I thank you very much for your attention.